randomness. Oh,
Question about randomness?
yeah, I was speculating or like thinking, what is randomness actually? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, it's interesting. When I grew up, randomness was, a kind of a very important thing because of entropy. That the laws of the universe were such that randomness should be maximized. And I was taught that the reason there was pressure in a piston, for example, was because the molecules in that part of the piston were moving around randomly, and they wanted to increase their randomness, and they were pushing against the piston, and in a certain way that gave it the pressure, which we then measured, right? So we measured the pressure, but we inferred the randomness. But I just saw a beautiful YouTube on Stephen Wolfram, a great, great, great mathematician. And also, I don't know what words to use from example, to use for him, innovator, something like that. Anyway, he started a physics project, and in trying to solve the observer problem, he's come up with a notion that, wait a minute, if we look at the actual molecules at the level of the molecule instead of at the piston at the level of pressure, then there's not randomness. There's just there's something else, right? There's angular momentum. There's velocity. There's weight. There's all kinds of other things. And what we haven't done is we haven't considered that the observer is who determines the laws of physics that are going to be observed. And so, from our point of view, our granular point of view of looking at the big picture, yeah, the movement of those molecules seems random. But from the point of view of looking at it at the level of the molecule, just like in the Avatamsaka, right? Because with time and with space, the randomness is just an artifact of us not looking at that scale. And so I don't know how that's all going to work out, but it seems to me that the laws of physics are in for a really great ride, just like the rest of us. Because apparently, according to Wolfram, and I agree with him, according to Wolfram and the 2nd century YN Buddhists, these laws depend on the observer, right? We only see the laws that were, what is it, there's a Beatles song, you only can do what you can, what is it? There's nothing you can do that can't be done, right? There's no way you can sing that can't be sung. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. It's kind of like that. There's no physical laws that you can't observe that are in your observer's world, and vice versa. The laws outside of that world, the laws that would be, say, in a alternative physics universe, would have different observers. But man has this capacity. We can change our observational point, right? We can change as observers. And if we do, the world starts to look different. And so randomness starts to look different. And so does even randomness really exist? That would be a question. Follow up or another question?
I have another question. It's the
Good.
last question, but it's of a different topic.
Okay, we have time. Go ahead. Question.
Yes. Yeah, so it was about our discussion yesterday, where basically you mentioned that me, because I was trying to avoid confrontation this time, you said it's a root cause of my physical fears, and I was contemplating how like acting out in this way one time is a root cause of my physical fears. Can you expand on that?
People's problems come from two principal sources. The main one is fear of death. According to, that was according to the highest level psychoanalysts of the last century. But really, what they come down to is the people's problems come from fear. I mean, for the purpose of this discussion, we could say that fear is the root cause of people's problems and suffering. And what they're afraid of is to let go of their conditioned self or their identified self. They hold on to that at all costs, because to them that's the equivalent of dying. And so until a man or a woman or any person learns to be fearless in one way or another, I don't think there's going to be any real awakening happening, right? Because it requires a certain fearlessness about everything that this world represents to move beyond this world, right? Not doesn't mean you have to leave this world.
Mm-hmm.
It may mean you have to engage this world. But more and more, I see more and more people who are floundering because they're afraid. They're afraid to be in the world because the world is a scary place. But the world has always been a scary place for humans. The difference is that the culture is trying to make them more scared. At the same time, it's also inhibiting their opportunities to overcome fear. Right? So fear and
Mm-hmm.
desire really are two of the major problems. And so what I'm seeing is that people may have the desire, but they're crippled by fear. And this is another reason why it's vitally important that people guard their minds against these AIs. And the AIs hooked up to social media is because dials can be changed, turned, and they were, to make people very fearful. And in recent history in the US and in Europe, at least, there was a widespread program to induce as much fear as possible into the population. A lot of it was lies. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Then there's more subtle ways to induce fear or to cripple a population. And the CIA and others have been, I shouldn't have said that on tape, and others have been known this for some time, since World War II. And so the use of psychological manipulation and operations to mollify or to cripple a population is something that these agencies are expert at. And it seems as if they turned it on us. And so you have to be, but they didn't have the power that they had before the AIs, right? The AIs are much better at executing these programs of mind manipulation and mind control. And so how do we get on this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so fear,
Yeah.
so fear is the thing that they use most often because that's the most powerful. But the problem with fear is if one person goes, I remember the Sufi story where the mom asked the mullah to scare her kid into behaving better because the kid was a little acting out kid. Yeah. And she brings him to the mullah one day, a week later, something like that, and the mullah goes, or something like that, and the woman jumps back and she said, "Mullah, I told you to scare my kid, not scare me." And the mullah responds,
Yeah, he fainted.
Yeah, she faints, right, from fear. And the mullah, she said, "I told you to scare my kid, not me." And the mullah says, I was scared too because fear goes in every direction. And that's a very important teaching, very important teaching of the mullah. And one that we're not aware of, that fear, like many other affects for humans and animals, it spreads everywhere. So you can't target it the way you can a laser or a gun or a rifle. And so some of these nincompoops, they think that they can target the fear. They could just have just so much fear, and it's only going to affect this population. No, it's not how it works. And so we get a blanket of fear over the country, and the country gets paralyzed, right? Now, for the individual, the fear, any fear, is going to be an obstacle because it's a very strong affect, and it blocks anything more refined or subtle. And so in interpersonal relations or in familial relations or in any other kinds of things like this, there's unconscious fears that aren't even acknowledged. They aren't even recognized. I'm afraid that my daughter won't approve of me. I'm afraid that my mother will, think less of me, or she'll withhold her love, or she won't love me as much as my brother. If these really dark unconscious fears, right? All of it got to go. All of it. And it does go. When you wake up, and so, but it's an obstacle, a huge obstacle, any fear of that sort. So one does not avoid certain confrontations, one confronts them, because most fear will go away if you just stand up with your feet on the ground and look at it clearly, like, oh, okay. And so it's really not that complex. That's a great question. Any follow-up on that?
Yeah.
So fear is the mind killer. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the progress killer. Fear is the developmental, a boulder or a brick put on somebody's development. Yeah, fear is not a good thing for us humans. And it's being used against us all the time. And then we use it against ourselves. And our parents use it against us. you know, like some parents are guilt inducing, right? They manipulate their kids using guilt. I mean, that's hideous, but they do it, right? Maybe it's better than a stick. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but it can be debilitating. All right, follow up.
Yeah. So you mentioned that until someone is fearless, awakening is not possible.
No, I didn't say it
So
was not
that means
possible. I said
that,
it's not likely.
yeah, it's not likely. So if I take that, it seems that someone who wants to awaken, they cannot afford to even slip up even one time against fear. Like they need to be on guard
Who said that?
and do their best all the time.
Well, do their best all the time, yeah, but who said that no mistakes are ever made or can be made? That sounds very, very... State it again, please.
Okay, got it. I think I was just clarifying that, is that what you meant or not?
No,
Yeah.
that's not what I meant at all. I didn't mean... None of this is meant like it's a 100% all the time, always true no matter what. And it's not like coding or coding where you can write the law and it's all going to be true 100% of the time no matter what, right? Because the code says that. Life is not like that at all. It's not like that at all. And so when you take things too literally, it's debilitating. If you take things too literally or you
Yeah.
take them too loosely, both are debilitating. Follow up?
Yeah.
Question?
No, I think that's pretty much true.
All right.